I guess good morning to the attendees that are coming on. We know we were a touch late, so we do want to thank you guys for your patience. Of course, we've got the group here, excuse me, coming from the Selma to Montgomery March Committee. Obviously, probably the first person you should probably hear from is Senator Sanders, who convenes this group. Senator Sanders, if you would start us off, please, sir.
Good morning to everybody, and good afternoon since we're in different time zones. I'm Hank Sanders, co-founder of the Bridge Crossing Jubilee, co-founder of the Selma to Montgomery March, and one of the organizers of this particular march in 22. This 22 edition of the Selma to Montgomery March is critical to save democracy in these United States of America, and perhaps in the world. I appreciate each and every one of the organizations and their leaders who agreed to take a day in this march from Selma to Montgomery. It is a marching relay of democracy, a relay of fighting for the vote. Each day in the morning, today a leader will speak for each day as well as share their vision. We are asking each speaker to stay within their initial 2 minutes. I will stay within my 2 minutes. Each morning, the fight for the vote baton will be passed to the leaders for that day by the leaders from the previous day. They will also pass the freedom flame light. The baton symbolizes the duty to carry the fight for the vote. We have been carrying it for a long time, and we must continue to carry it. The flame symbolizes the willingness to light the way to save this imperfect democracy. Each of us have a role to play, and each organization has a role to play. And I'm just so thankful that so many of you have participated, not just this morning, but in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Senator Sanders. And as you talk about being in this march and those who've done it the longest, obviously, my name is DeMark Liggins. I work for Dr. Charles Steele Jr. At the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. We are up on Sunday, and I know Senator Sanders said that we should go in order, but Dr. Steele would be mad at me. So unfortunately, Senator Sanders, I'm gonna have to switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna take most of my time off and give it to the venerable Reverend Jesse Jackson to make sure that as we have his time, that he gets to say his speech. I know Push is on Monday, but Reverend Jackson, please, the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's strange that today we're looking at the war in Ukraine.
Can't hear you, Reverend Jackson.
Can't see. We lost him, I guess.
Huh. As these things are prone to do, and we'll wait a few seconds and hopefully that connection comes back for Reverend Jackson. Amen. As we wait for Reverend Jackson, is anybody else on here from Push that can at least speak about your day while we're waiting for Reverend Jackson to come back?
This is Bishop Tavis Grant. We have, as part of our partnership, the Poor People's Campaign with Bishop William Barber and Transformative Justice with Attorney Barbara Arnwine and Attorney Darrell Jones. We have from my Atlanta office, Attorney Robert Patillo, Reverend
Hello,
Jackson
hello,
is
hello,
attempting it.
hello,
Here he is.
Reverend
hello.
Jackson is
Yes,
back.
Reverend. You're on,
Yeah,
Reverend.
yeah. Let me say this, in a strange way, it's a new South. We once saw the mayor's office in position of Selma as distant. Now, the African American occupies the office, Birmingham, Selma, Montgomery, and Mobile. Not to mention right across the states where slaves were dropped off the ships. But now Dallas and Houston and Charleston, South Carolina, and Columbia around the circle. So we've been blessed to keep fighting. So we fight today, same war, but with different warriors. We have more empowered warriors to be part of this fight. So I want to thank you and thank God for delivering us. Don't say things are not better than the things are better than they were. We had one black official in the whole South in 1965, Leroy Johnson, in Atlanta, Georgia. We're people in the South with black and brown and female candidates and victors. So we fight at another level, but we're still fighting. And so I want to again thank Rose and Hank for their tireless efforts to keep the dream alive. Thank you so much. God bless you. Okay.
Thank you, Reverend, for
Thank
all
you,
you do.
Reverend Jackson.
And Bishop Grant, and then when Bishop Grant finishes, I think you're on the same day with Miss Armstrong, correct? Is there anything
Yes,
particular?
I'd like to share time with Attorney Barbara Arnwine. Our day is the first day, and we're so appreciative of the work, the hard work, labor, and love of Senator Hank Sanders and Rose Fire Sanders, and then the Jubilee Commission, along with the Poor People's Campaign, Bishop William Barber, and Transformative Justice. This is an incredible opportunity, historic moment, and so I'd like to yield to Attorney Barbara Arnwine.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm very honored to be part of this year's commemoration for Selma, which has, of course, transformed our nation, but also for the march from Selma to Montgomery. It is an honor to do this alongside Rainbow Push Coalition, the mighty Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's also an honor to do this with the mighty Bishop William Barber, and the Poor People's Campaign and Repairers of the Breaches. What an honor to be part of this first day where we will kick off following the bridge crossing the day before. We will kick off our march, our leg of the march to Montgomery, and to walk in the footsteps of all of those amazing people who walked before us. What we will be doing during that time is that we're bringing the Arbery family. Yes, everybody's been hearing about Ahmaud Arbery, about this incredible victory in the hate crimes case that we just achieved after the victory we achieved in the murder case. The Arbery family is coming in force. All the uncles, his father Marcus, they are coming and they are excited. In fact, when I leave here, I am in Brunswick. This is my last day after being here for 3 weeks, and I am on my way to meet with the family for a minute before I head to the airport. But I just want people to know that they're excited. They can't wait for the world to see them all, to understand how important it is that they are not only fighting against hate and hate crimes, but they're fighting for the vote, because ultimately the vote is everything. And they would tell you that they had to throw out of office the prosecutor, Jackie Johnson, who is now under indictment for abuse of office because she covered up the killing of Ahmaud by telling the police not to arrest the McMichaels or Mr. Bryan, and that she then stopped the investigation after only 2 days. So it is so important for people to understand that all of these issues are connected, because they were able to get a petition. She was running on a post. They put a petition, and they elected a new prosecutor and threw her out of office. First time in the history of Southeastern Georgia. So it is so important for people to understand the connection between every issue and the right to vote. And they will be marching to tell people that in 2020, the vote is everything. Thank you.
Ashe, Ashe.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you so much, Attorney Arwine. And I want, and I don't know, Senator Sanders, if someone wants to speak. I think we're looking for someone from the National Action Network, and I think we're having our signals cross a little bit. But they've got our Tuesday. They'll be leading, and I think Senator Sanders was talking about the different groups kind of taking that baton of their different issues, obviously push it, and transformative justice is Monday. They'll be passing that torch on to the National Action Network, and we all know the incredible work that they do in their own space. Or when we all work together, we all have our own pushes, and we're hopeful that we can get one of them to come on and speak about their day. But they do have that Tuesday, so I know they'll be passing that baton to the National Action Network on Tuesday. But in the space of time, we're doing the best we can to keep it flowing. We're going to put a quick pause on Tuesday and jump to Wednesday, because I think we're trying to pull in the NAN representative. But Wednesday, of course, is none other than Miss Latasha Brown, representing from the Black Voters Matter. The floor is yours, ma'am.
I will be very brief because my brother Cliff is going to share some of the work that we're doing in Black Voters Matter. So we're really excited to be a part of this Jubilee Festival. We know that part of where we're in right now is that we're in the midst of this fight, that when we're talking about the voting rights struggle from the 1965, we still have unfinished business, and that the franchise is still under attack. And so as a result, part of what we see this as not just a moment to revisit the movement, but a moment to strengthen and to continue to build on that movement that others before us. And so with that, we will be doing a set of activities, and Cliff will talk more about that, where we are mobilizing that on our day of the journey, we have a set of activities to engage and to mobilize, and then even a national campaign that we have launched as a part of this process. And with that being said, Cliff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Latasha, and thank you to the rest of the committee. As Latasha said, we believe, as everybody on this call believes, that this is not just a time where we're commemorating voting rights, but obviously the struggle continues, right? We believe that this march fittingly should be part of a movement that is still fighting for legislation, which was voted on last month, but which is not the end of the story, right? We believe that there is still a role to play, even in the midst of this election season, for us to use this history of the voting rights struggle in order to continue moving forward in our current push for voting rights. And we're just honored that on the day that we'll be kind of coordinating, that we'll be going through historic Lowndes County, where many of us know the history of the movement there, and the organizing, the registration, the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, the history of the tent cities, which we'll also be talking about, which is a constant reminder that as we fight for our voting rights, that there's always a backlash, right? There was a backlash in '65, and we've seen the backlash to our voting power currently in terms of the attacks that we're seeing in state after state after state. And so we're honored to be a part of this. We're excited to be able to not just commemorate, but to push forward in the current battle, to share some history and to shape our future. Can't stop, won't stop. I'll pass it back to Rev.
And then I just want to briefly mention, I think we talked about it last time, but I do want to just briefly mention that we are working with 10 HBCUs. We are bringing HBCUs and students in Lowndes County. We're working with the Lowndes County school system to actually mobilize and have students, because when we look at the voting rights movement, it was led by young people. And so part of who we're mobilizing, we have a particular focus on young people. And we're also working with a lot of media partners to be able to lift up the story of young people who are on the front lines of doing this work as well. So I'll just stop there.
Indeed, indeed. And how appropriate, because I think that segues us into the youngest person on this panel, which is Miss Cece Huddleston. She's joined us from the Legal Defense Fund as their voting rights trainer for the Prepare to Vote. As others, I won't take your shine, but how appropriate. She's our youngest person. I don't know if you're quite the college age. You can tell your own age, but Cece, the floor is yours, man.
Thank you. I am not quite college age, but I'm happy to have that acknowledgement. Hello again, everyone. My name is Cece Huddleston. I'm a voting rights trainer here for the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund. And we are so excited and so happy and honored to participate in the Selma to Montgomery March. This effort, again, as the rest of this panel has said, is not a commemoration of the march 57 years ago, but it's a continuation of the ongoing fight for the right to vote. And this theme is exactly the urgent call, right? The stakes cannot be higher for democracy this year. We know how much of a critical time we are in. In terms of logistics, the Legal Defense Fund is very excited to partner with Black Women's Roundtable. We know we will hear from Commissioner Tyson from the Black Women's Roundtable very soon. So our final day will be leading up to the Alabama State Capitol in Montgomery at 9 a.m. We will meet on West Fairview at the Cowhand Superfoods Mart, and we will march our good old 4 miles and meet at 11 a.m. for the Fight to the Vote rally. The rally will definitely include all the wonderful faces and most of the wonderful faces you see right now in this panel and in these press conferences. And y'all, we are coming loud. We are coming excited. I talked to Commissioner Tyson. She said, oh, we're activating our Hellraisers throughout the state. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to bring voices, we're going to bring people, and we're going to bring the energy, because we've been fighting these fights. It's a continuation. So right now they need to know that we are no one to play with. We are here. We are telling you our demands, and we're going to make an impact. So we are so excited to have everyone's voice join. And another key thing is that we're making sure that we activate the voices of the Alabama state and also the local activists in Montgomery and in Selma, those who have been putting down the fight in the state of Alabama. And we're very excited to have those voices with us as well.
Indeed, indeed. And that rolls us straight into to Dr. Tyson, Commissioner Tyson. The floor is yours, ma'am. I don't know, Commissioner Tyson, can you hear us, ma'am? We can see you, but we want to hear from you.
Unmute.
Hello.
Amen. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hey, y'all. I'm so sorry. I'm doing double duties. Okay. So I want to make you fully understand that on Friday with LDF, we will be leading the march along with the Black Women Roundtable, the Alabama chapter, along with the state, the leading chapter is the Alabama chapter. So we will be coming and leading the march on Friday. But I want to say that the reason this is so close to my heart is because I see it every day. They are not shooting us with hose pipes anymore. They are not beating us with billy clubs. They are not running us down with horses. They don't have the tanks now. What they are pulling is our voting rights. They're trying to push everything that we have now back. We're in a civil war, and we need to fully understand that we are in a civil war. We got to be intentional. We've got to do this on purpose. We got to be firm. We got to be consistent. And a lot of these bills are coming out of these southern states. And I want to just thank Rose and Hank. I want to thank the funders, a lot of these funders that's on here, Latasha, you and Cliff, because it is needed down south. Do not give up on the South. We can make a difference.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Commissioner Tyson. And as I told you guys earlier, we were waiting for none other than Reverend Toon. Reverend Toon, I know you jumped on. So as those of us who are listening, we're moving back from Friday to Tuesday, but the impact's no less. Reverend Toon, sir, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, sir. And certainly, I know we're dealing with technology, but we've been on since 10 minutes to 12. But she was not listed as a panelist, but nevertheless, we're happy to be with this group this afternoon. And certainly, we want to thank Senator Hank Sanders and certainly Fi Rose Sanders for all the work that they have continued done down through the years to make sure that it's the issue around voting rights is not only dealt with, but as we look at what took place in 1965 and how they have gutted the Voters' Rights Bill. So the National Action Network, along with our president, Reverend Al Sharpton, and our chairman of the board, Dr. Franklin W. Richardson, will be mobilizing our chapters. We do have some buses leaving out of Atlanta, Georgia. We have a bus leaving from Clark, Atlanta, and a bus leaving from Spelman. We have several buses. One bus is leaving out of Birmingham, Alabama. So we are excited about the work that has to be done, as we all know how important this particular march is, as we look at what's taking place around this country, how they have gutted the Voters' Rights Act, and what's taking place in all these other states where they're trying now to roll back pre-1965. So the National Network is certainly excited and glad to be part of this collaborative effort as we not only shine the light on what's taking place in this country around voting issues, but what we need to do as a people collectively. And I'm happy to thank you again, Senator Hank Sanders, for your leadership and bringing us all together as we work towards a common goal, and that is to get something done to address this whole issue of Voters' Rights Act. And hopefully this will be the last time we walk across that bridge under the name of this Confederate racist KKK member. I refuse to call it that name of that bridge, what it's been named after. That's not what it is to me. And I'm not just marching across the bridge. I'm going to be stomping on the KKK head. Thank you so much.
Indeed, indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't think of a better, the cornerstones of Selma as Senator Sanders and Fire Rose Sanders. And I can't think of any two people who have meant so much to this moment being remembered and getting us all together, making sure that this whole country never forgets Selma. But we did want to make sure, I think Senator Sanders started us off, we want to end with
Mark.
Really? Yes.
Don't forget the AFL-CIO.
Oh, I sheepishly am embarrassed. Thank you so much. That's all me. Do not charge that to anybody but DeMark. I did get a little bit excited to introduce Miss Sanders. So if you can at least understand that, my apologies, sir. I got excited to bring up Fire Rose, but no, by all means, sir. Thank you for the correction.
No problem at all. I'm Charles Clark. I'm the Southern Region Director for the National AFL-CIO. And it is with a sense of great reverence, respect, and admiration for those who made great sacrifices in the 1965 Selma to Montgomery March that we enthusiastically embrace this opportunity to participate and be a part of this momentous occasion. The National AFL-CIO has a long history of fighting for the rights of working family, fighting for social and economic justice, fighting for organizing workers into unions, fighting for the integrity of the voting process, fighting for democracy, and many other causes. It is in that spirit, the spirit of fight, that we participate with our partners here on this call in this 57th annual march from Selma to Montgomery. And to that end, our day, which is Thursday, looks a little like this. Our national officers are coming in. President Liz Schuler will be coming in, and she will be one of the speakers on Sunday. And our Secretary Treasurer, Fred Redmond, will also be coming in, and he will also be one of the speakers on Friday. But on Thursday morning, Labor will assemble from all across the state and from various parts of the region to be a part of this. We're anticipating a tremendous amount of energy, a tremendous amount of organization that day. We're gonna start off with a short program. We're gonna march. We will end with a rally at the St. Jude Educational Center with a number of labor speakers who will be addressing the audience. And we're just excited about this opportunity to recommit, as I've heard over and over again, and commit to this challenge that we have in front of us. And I'm like a lot of the other speakers here. We're gonna fight, We know how to fight, and we know how not to give up. As Barbara Unwind has shown us, we're going to keep on fighting. Thank you.
Yes.
Amen. Amen. And again, Brother Clark, my deepest apologies. I think what's represented on this call, you've got labor, you've got lawyers, you got faith, and you got activists. And it's always taken all four of those groups to come together to make sure we all continue to fight. And all four of those groups have always been in this movement. And thank you guys for what you do from the labor side. And again, my deepest apologies. As they say in church, please charge that to my head, not my heart. I'm sorry about that, sir. Fire Rose, the floor is yours. I won't belabor it and talk too much. I'll just pass it over to you to help me out this jam.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Jubilee would be nothing without foot soldiers and leaders determined to move this movement forward, because it seemed at a point that we were falling behind. But we know that as long as we work together, we realize that victory is in the fight and freedom is in the struggle. Victory is in the fight and freedom is in the struggle. And as long as we fight, and as long as we fight together, they cannot win. And that, to me, is what this Jubilee is about. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming together, because our differences, our needs are much greater than our differences. And this exhibit of unity will show this country, enemies and foes alike, that Black folk and righteous white people that will fight with us will continue to fight, because every issue is a voting issue. We recognize that. And I want to stay within my 2 minutes. I just want to encourage you to remember the people that have been forgotten. Jesse Jackson is probably the only person on this phone that was here in 65. The rest of, well,
and
Hank
your
was,
husband.
yeah, Hank was here. Well, I forgot we're old enough. We were here. But I want to recognize Reverend again. From the beginning, when we started the museum in Selma, we had no grants. We had no money. We had just a army of volunteers. And the first money we got was raised by Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's continued to support us. Another name I want us to remember, that's not in many history books, the name of C.J. Adams, a veteran that came to Selma and was arrested and was ridiculed and demonized. But he is the one that started the Dallas County Voters League. Later on, the Boyntons took it over, and Reverend Reese. But as we remember the people that came before us, we must insist that this history be taught and to expose those who want to deny this history to our children by calling it political race theory and banning it. But we know they're trying to ban democracy, and they cannot do it. They can do it if they can ban the vote. So again, thank each and every one of you. And I look forward to walking with you, because I have told the judges they cannot have me in court that week. I'm going to be walking every day with you if God sees fit. Thank you.
Amen.
Brother Liggins, let me say a final little quick word. The Bridge Crossing Jubilee starts on Thursday, March the 3rd, and there are probably 30-some all events. I just want to bring that to the attention. I also want to mention the breakfast that Sunday morning, where many of the people who are on here now will be speaking, as well as others. It's called the Martin and Coretta King Unity Breakfast. And so we just lift those. When you got 30-some events, you can't lift them all, but I want to lift those two.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I want to make sure that we make sure the audience knows before we wrap this session up that if there are questions, I think there's a Q&A that's open in the on your system. But if someone's got a question from the media or from the guest side, please put it in that. I want to give a couple of seconds to start seeing that populate in. But we do want to make sure we do open it before we close the press conference. We want to give people the opportunity to ask questions. Indeed, indeed. Our first question's coming, and I think we'll obviously we'll probably defer like we did last time. We'll defer the questions to start with Senator Sanders unless they're directed specifically to someone. But the first question is from Miss, I think it's Chinta Strasberg. I may be saying that incorrectly. My apologies, but it's what is the goal for this historic march? Senator Sanders.
We are at a pivotal point in this country. We have been working for many years to expand the right to vote, but in the last maybe 10 years, the right to vote has been contracting rather than expanding. And the 1965 Voting Rights March was a pivotal point in leading to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And what we are doing is saying that democracy depends greatly on all of these. Somebody's calling and getting, it's blocking me out. But anyway, democracy is at stake. And this is not just a reenactment. What this is really is an effort to move the movement forward. Like last thing, let me just say this. With all of these anti-voting acts passed, we cannot out-organize all of these oppressive laws. But if we do movement will wash over all of these laws. And I think that that's what the purpose of this is, to contribute to that movement. It's going to take a lot of contribution from every segment, but if we move, then we'll just move right on over those and be able to expand the right to vote. But we welcome other thoughts on that.
Senator Sanders, Reverend Toon, again, real quickly, I did notice that Miss Cleola Brown is on, and I think that we should certainly, if any way possible, be from
APRI.
Pleased to hear if we can hear from her.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, I'm here.
We welcome your comment.
Well, I simply wanted to say to the panelists, we're also very excited, and to our point person, Brother Charles Clark, thank you for making sure they did not forget that labor will be there loud and proud. We're so excited to be a part of this piece. Everyone that is there has a ground that has been built over history and legacy. And to be able to speak with you, Senator, and to see Sister Rose on the call is really quite special. We're looking forward to coming, showing up and showing out. And Reverend Jackson, we still have some conversation to have, and I know that. So we're looking forward to be joined at the hip at some point. But to all of you, so happy that this is happening. And to my sister Barbara Arnwine, I know you're gonna make some good trouble, sister. So good to see you on the call this morning as well. And I see Tasha is smiling too. It's gonna be a cut up good time. You all, thank you so very, very much for making sure that history does not get forgotten, that legacy gets to be continued, and that the struggle is always going to be something that real warriors show up for. Thank you for calling me out. I didn't intend to do this, but thanks a lot for recognizing that I am there. Thank you, Reverend Toon. I appreciate you.
God bless you.
You know, I just want to say something quickly to that question, just briefly. You know, when we're talking about what's the goal for this march is, You know, in years past, there's always been an attack. Let's just be clear. There's always been a constant attack on Black enfranchisement and the Black vote in this nation. But what we've seen is we've seen a particular kind of voter suppression that has been intensified. And so in this moment for this particular year, you know, beyond the historic piece of lifting it up and the celebration, you know, we also know that just a month ago and a month and a half ago, that there was a vote that came that wouldn't even come up for vote. Like we couldn't even get a vote on this particular issue around voting rights. And so while there was a date, there was an arbitrary date for us, and Reverend Barbara says this often, is not until victory. And so part of this march is also to continue to beat the drum around the nation of the need to focus on voting rights, because there's a fragility of American democracy that has to be addressed. And so part of it is literally to be able to amplify, not just for ourselves around the movement, but to amplify and connect with others throughout the nation, to use this opportunity in the backdrop of the voting rights movement to also literally be able to catalyze people of recognizing that we've got work. Yes, they did their part in 1965. Those of us in this year, we've got work that we've got to do as well.
Indeed, indeed. And that actually brings us to our question from the audience, which is, as those are listening, how do they join the march? You know, what if our panels, you know, particularly I guess from Senator Sanders says, if they want to show up, they want to join in, what, you know, how do they do that? And when people want to show up, they want to be present from the bridge crossing and beyond, how do they do that?
I pass the question on to others. I don't want to talk too much.
I can actually take that question up, Brother Liggins. And a great way with that is that we have a website, which I'm going to put in the chat now, that is the Selma to Montgomery March.org. And I'm going to put that website in the chat that has all the information and the details, as well as last week's press conference, and it will contain this week's press conference as well on the website. There's also a registration link that will also be included in this chat. And we are asking people to register. Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. We are also asking people to register and let us know that you're coming out. We want to know who you're coming out with. We want to know what numbers, how many people you're bringing. So please go ahead and fill out that registration link as well.
Hello.
And the simple piece of going to the website, if people, we're trying to centralize sending people to selmajubilee.com. All the information, the layout of the organizations, the layout of the events will be there. So selmajubilee.com.
Old, and I just
Trying to get on. I can't get on.
Amen. And I want to impress to everybody, the two sites work together. Obviously, Ms. Brown is 100% correct. This whole thing started with the Selma Jubilee, and most of the information is there. Senator Sanders had also launched a secondary site. That's where that came from. They're not in any way competition. They're connected at the hip. So both those sites are good. And to Ms. Brown's point, if we could put the Jubilee site in there as well. But the Selma Montgomery March.com site was launched in conjunction with Senator Sanders. He is the impetus and catalyst behind that. So we would, but we do encourage everybody to go to both. And if you got to pick one, go to the Jubilee Crossing, because that's what started it all. But we are trying to make sure that it's those, because you got the Jubilee Crossing and you got the March, and that's where that came from. But definitely the Jubilee Crossing, a lot of the best information in terms of what I could participate in as a person, don't come from the Jubilee. You know, March is about being present. But we all know that you got to be knowledgeable about what's happening. And a lot of the events, a lot of the information, a lot of things that gird you spiritually will come from the events around the Jubilee. So definitely please go to both sites.
And I stand corrected. I'm I stand corrected. The Selma Jubilee, the Selma Montgomery March.com, but you can go to both, but I stand corrected. That's the one that I was thinking about. That's more comprehensive.
And just to clarify, I put in the chat a link to a site that we created in particular for the day that we'll be coordinating, but that site links to both the overall Jubilee and overall March site.
And the site for the Jubilee is www.selmajubilee.com, and that's where the events for the entire week of the Jubilee is listed. www.selmajubilee.com, and it kicks off that Thursday with our mass meeting. But I also wanted to make one last comment, if you will indulge me. Selma is suffering. Selma, at the time of the march, had 30,000 people. We're down to less than 17,000 people. There have been 22 murders. There were 22 murders of our young people in Selma last year. There's extreme poverty and a lot of injustice. We have never had a Black sheriff. The Black sheriff that we have now, I call him the new Jim Clark. He grins to win. One of the new strategies that white supremacists use in predominantly Black areas is to run as Democrats, as if they're moderates, but they're really Trump Republicans. And we have a situation in Selma where there is a lot of injustice. And when people come to Selma, we've had presidents to come, famous people to come, but it is time to do something for Selma. And I want to encourage all of our national organizations. We truly appreciate you coming to uplift the right to vote. But remember that Selma is really, really suffering. I have 2 hearings today where 2 young Black men have been victims of this new oppression. And I think at some point, as we struggle for the right to vote, we got to deal with the critical issue of Black faces and white justice. But just remember, Selma, as you lift this right to vote, this struggle, not just Selma, but there are other cities, of course, that have been forgotten, that have given so much to the struggle. So I just wanted to take this moment as a personal privilege to talk about the grave state of Selma. It is not in a good place at all.
Rose.
Yes, Reverend.
Let me say, I'm a destination right now. I plan to be in Selma, Alabama, all the week next week. We're coming in with a team, and I'm going to University of Alabama and Auburn, trying to get white students involved in this campaign, give them a chance to open up. 2 of the 7 Black colleges in Alabama as well. Trying to have them there Monday and certainly Friday. It's a big conclusion. I think we got to reach out and get them. So count on me to be a part of taking the 2 of those colleges and stirring up their imagination. Young America has the power to change the situation. Those who want free community colleges, they vote, it's going to be a big deal. Chicago has 25,000 high school seniors graduating. Now, bloom in one hand, vote card in the other. Real stuff, you know. Done right around the country. So as we engage, I talked with Labor yesterday. Certainly, we're trying to have a gospel concert Thursday night. Labor is kind of open at night for something. They had nothing. I'm trying to get the show the season, that crowd down to Washington, down to Selma, and the Montgomery. Make Sunday big, Saturday big, Friday rather big deal. Okay, guys.
Thank you, Reverend.
And Rose.
Rose,
I will be actually doing our conference down there that I promise you that we will have that right at the in the beginning of April. I will be doing all of it. We in the process of getting everybody now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I want to make sure before we wrap up, is there a comment from the panelists before we thank everyone and close this conference out? Am I missing any commentary from the panelists?
Charles Clark, I just like to say I miss naming President Lee Saunders from ASME, who will also be present at the march and plan to be there on Sunday. And he's a great labor leader. So I just want to make sure I mention that as well.
Indeed, thank you for that. And I know we've been getting the press conferences. Ms. Wheeler, are we going to have a wrap-up press release that kind of goes through all these logistics before the event started in Selma?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Indeed.
So
but that also is a good space, to your point, Brother Clark, is that people can go to that list and see who will participate, and make sure that as things maybe slip through the verbal cracks, they don't get past what we write down on paper. So hopefully that works out too. But thank you for that. There's if all hearts and minds are clear, obviously, we want to thank all the guests, all the media, everyone who's joined us. So it's an amazing panel, and I would think for anybody watching, don't take lightly to be able to hear from this group of folk. And if you can't get a little bit of inspiration, not just from what they're saying, but just look at the work of the people on this panel. And if that doesn't spur you to do something where you live, it should. I won't say my commentary on that, but it should spur you. I mean, these are people who have fought for all of us for a long time and continue to. Many of us enjoy the lives we live right now because of the people on this panel. And I'm honored for the entire group. Thank everybody for coming on. Like I said, I would be remiss again. Dr. Steele had another appointment, or Dr. Charles Steele Jr., our national president and CEO, would have been on this call as well. But he was not able to make it. And again, I want to make sure I send condolences, his regrets from him. I always hate when we don't get to hear from Dr. Steele, but that's my own bias, so to speak. But thank you everybody for joining in. And
Brother Lincoln, I just want to express my appreciation to you for facilitating this. You did a very good job last time. You did a very good job this time. Thank you. And I want to thank all of those who worked to put this together. I want to thank Rainbow Push for reaching out and helping in a very special way to be able to bring this. I want to thank Sharon Wheeler, who worked so hard in so many ways. So everybody who contributed, I just want to express those appreciation, because sometimes we just, a little word of thanks go a long way. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And everyone have a good one. We appreciate it. God bless.